Something I noticed that was interesting about this play is the meaning of the name Esther. If you look in the Old Testament, the book of Esther is part of the Hebrew Bible, and she protected the Jews from a Persian king that was bent on genocide. And this character is considered by modern scholars to be a feminist icon, and it also foreshadows Esther's sexual tension with Mr. Marks, who is Jewish. So, interesting. Okay, so the two values I saw represented in this dramatic world. First one was self-sufficiency for women. Most of the women in the play are self-sufficient or are searching to be self-sufficient. Esther works the whole play to eventually work toward her own business, Intimate Apparel, and she works hard her whole life to reach that goal eventually. And Mrs. Dixon married into money, and she ended up renting a house on her own when her husband passed away. She had plenty of money to support herself. Mrs. Van Buren was searching for this goal, and she wanted to leave her husband and be self-sufficient on her own, but she was actually afraid to, which brings me to my next value, which is love and marriage. In this play, they saw it as the same thing. One of the quotes was actually, do you love your husband? And the lady said, well, because he was her husband, she had to love him, which was not the other way around, how you would normally expect. And then Mr. Marks had an arranged marriage, which he might not have actually loved this woman. Something I didn't understand was the smoking jacket, and I looked it up, and it said that the meaning of the smoking jacket was Esther showing her commitment to Mr. Marks, and when she gave it to him and it didn't fit, it was actually signifying that the marriage was doomed to fail. And for the issue of diversity question, I think that this play reinforces our stereotypes of African American experience because the black women never actually reach their full potential. They're always having extra work compared to the white women, but I also think it reinvents our representation of the African American experience because Esther starts off as the mammy type, but then I think she becomes more confident throughout the play and stands up for herself in her situation. And also, Mrs. Van Buren helped her compose the letters to George, which I thought was rare for what we'd normally expect with the interaction between a rich white woman and a black woman that worked for her. I would say that the purpose of this play was for Nottage to present the types of racial and gender prejudice that African Americans and women faced and how they reacted to those different pressures. And I would say stereotypes definitely still exist. For example, if a resume has a black-sounding name, it's less likely to get a call back, and defendants in court are more likely to be convicted of their crime when they're tried by a jury if they are African American. I think ignorance and judgments and joking about these issues help perpetuate stereotypes, and a way that we could combat them would be empathizing with a different race than we are and understanding the view of the other side, and just educating ourselves in general. Two of my questions would be, will Esther ever accomplish her goal of opening her own shop? And why does Mrs. Van Buren get mad at Esther in the end when she called her a coward?